So let me begin with our first speaker, Andreas Diekmann from the European Space Agency. He's head of the Washington office here, which means that he supports activities that the European Space Agency has with its partners in US and Canada. He was, before coming to Washington, with the Directorate of Human Spaceflight and Exploration at ESA's facility STEC in the Netherlands. He also worked on International Space Station utilization. He worked strategy and plans for ESA. And before joining the European Space Agency, he was with the German Space Agency. He also did a research fellowship in Japan. So you can see he has a breadth of international experience across multiple countries, but he also has some direct experience with the International Space Station. So let me turn it over to him.
Thank you, Lynn. Actually, I felt our topic is a quite difficult one. And somehow we have to add speculation and speculation, because to consider a governance model without really knowing what we have to govern, it is a quite difficult task. So certainly an exploration program would be organized like a science program, and Lynn alluded to that. So we would have national contributions which are quite independent from each other and pursued in an independent way. We probably would only need a coordination mechanism, but not a strong, big governance model. In the ISS program, we have another model. We have two partners contributing core elements, transportation, core station elements, and other partners are quite dependent from that and contributing more or less only elements augmenting those facilities. So there we need another way of governance structure than certainly for the more science-oriented one. For us, the first step could be to see how a future space exploration program could look like, or what could be basic characteristics of that. The next slide, please. So, probable characteristics are that, as we heard also yesterday, it will be an evolutionary program, incremental program, incremental in objectives and architectures. Core architecture elements, that are those which are used by all partners, will be provided not only by a few, but probably by all or at least several partners, which will result in a higher degree of dependency than currently in the ISS program. We speak about having non-US, non-Russian elements on the critical path. We also think that existing architecture elements which are developed by partners since a long while may be integrated in such an architecture, which is also different from that what we have seen in the ISS program. Nevertheless, I expect that still there will be a dominant partner which almost naturally will assume a leadership role in such a program. So leadership will be an issue. We will see growing number of partners over time. Whilst it will be, I assume, predominantly a government-run exercise exploration, we will certainly see a role for non-government partners, industry. We may see a coexistence of cooperative elements, where partners join together their forces, and elements which are supplemented quite independently. For instance, a larger exploration program could be supported by robotic exploration missions which are pursued by countries independently. We still see, and that is similar to the space station program, the attempt to have a minimized exchange of funds. And partners will probably keep responsibility for the development and operational tasks. So if you see that as a speculative frame of a future exploration program, we can ask what could be the requirements for a governance model ruling such a program. Next slide, please. One lesson of the space station program was that a high-level governmental agreement, like the Intergovernmental Agreement IGA, was essential in keeping commitment of partners also in rough times. I would believe that without such an IGA, we would have had situations where the space station program could have been cancelled in the run. So having it is considered in European capitals as a treaty, the IGA, I think in the US it has another status, but nevertheless it's a high-ranking, a high-level political agreement which certainly saved and secured this is a stability of the program, and I assume such an element we would like to have also in a future exploration endeavor. Such an agreement, such a frame would certainly have to define the program reference, at least the nucleus from where we start an incremental or evolutionary program. It will consequently allow for program growth in terms of content and partnership. It will have to define roles and responsibilities of the partners, including the role of a leader. It will have to reflect a diversified set of stakeholders, not only government players, we have industry, public sector, scientists. And it will have to account for a higher degree of interdependency than the ISS program. I mean, it is quite high-level considerations I have here, but I think we have to, given the speculative frame in which we are working here, we think we have to approach it like that. The question is now, can the governance model of the International Space Station, namely the IGA and the MOU, which is a detailed form of it de facto, fulfill those requirements which I just stated here. Next slide. What I did is I looked into the IGA, into the various articles, not from a legal point of view, I'm an engineer, and probably that may be the reason that I try to find solutions in a too quick and pragmatic way. I'm sure that our legals will find much more subtle and detailed ways of looking into that. But what I try to do is to see what is already covered by this IGA, what could be used also in a future exploration framework. Do we really need a cultural revolution in terms of governance structure, or can we build on elements that are provided by the IGA? And if I start with the Article 1, Objective and Scope, not surprisingly, it starts, the objectives of the IGA is to establish a long-term international cooperative framework among the partners on the basis of a genuine partnership for the detailed design, development, operation and utilization of a space station. If we replace space station by an exploration program, I would think a similar language we could find in such an agreement for an exploration program. Lead role for USA for overall management and coordination. We have to see in how far this is applicable to a future program, but I would assume, yes, the US is expected to be the dominant player in a future exploration program, so why not having a leading role in that? The next elements, US and Russia will produce elements which serve as foundation of the space station. European partners and Japan will produce elements that significantly enhance. This may hopefully differ. I hope that Europe has a stronger ambition not only to contribute enhancing elements, but being also on the core and in the critical paths. Such an IGA defined very well elements to be provided by the partners and assigned roles and responsibilities, or that what we could also expect in a governance model and in an agreement covering an exploration program. Next slide, please. Looking to the management. Management of the ISS will be established on a multilateral basis, obviously. Management bodies will be established, certainly we will have to do that. One criticism of the ISS lessons learned was that the 60 I think, bodies existing in the governance of the ISS program might be a bit complex and much. We have to see that, but the principle to establish governing bodies, decision bodies, is probably applicable also to an exploration program. Decision making by consensus shall be the goal. I think also a principle that shall apply to an exploration program. The MOU specifies what happens in case a consensus cannot be achieved. The US, through NASA, shall be responsible for overall system engineering integration supported by partners, establishment of overall safety requirements and plans, overall planning for and coordination of the execution of the overall integrated operations, or that might be in a more democratic way because we have a more interdependent program, but all these functionalities certainly have to be covered by such an agreement covering exploration. Next chart. Article 8, detailed design and development. Each partner shall design and develop the development elements it provides, the principle which is applicable. Operation, the partner shall have responsibilities in the operation of the elements they respectively provide, also for me straightforward. Crew, each partner has the right to provide qualified personnel to serve on an equitable basis as space station crew members. The principle that partners that not contribute to the transportation architecture have also the right to contribute to a crew, I find this a reasonable and attractive feature. Next chart, please. Transportation. Each of the partners shall have the right to access the ISS using its respective government or private sector space transportation systems. In fact, it was designed in '98, a quite forward-looking statement in the IGA, I find. And also something which we as ESA please since a long time, that existing architectures, existing transportation means, also European ones, should be integrated in a common transportation architecture, so should be contributing to the implementation of an exploration program. So another language which I see applicable also in the case of exploration. Next chart, please. Evolution. The IGA already foresaw the evolution of the ISS program. So an evolving program is nothing new also for the IGA. The partners intend that the space station shall evolve through the addition of capability. Each partner to provide opportunity to the other partners to cooperate in this proposed evolutionary capability. Okay, it's right, but for me important is that an evolution was already covered in the IGA, so could also be a model, or it's not a cultural revolution. We have here something which was already thought of in the IGA. How to solve that? We have certainly, when we add elements, we have the requirement to modify agreements or to enter new legal situations. It's also spelled out. Additional evolutionary capability will require either the amendment of the IGA or a separate agreement to which the US and any impacted partner shall be parties. So we already have elements which could serve as a starting point, at least, for designing a governance structure for an exploration program. The last chart on the IGA, funding. Each partner shall bear the costs of fulfilling its respective responsibilities, the principle which I mentioned before. Each partner contributed to agreed common system operations costs. That's the thing we have to think about. It might be that an international exploration program will have components which serves the entirety of partnership, where support to system operations cost may be an issue. So this is also something where we see parallelism to the ISS program. And partners seek to minimize the exchange of funds, another principle what I mentioned before. Article 23, consultations. Any partner may request that government-level consultations be held with another partner on any matter arising out of SSS, of the Space Station Corporation. Important here, such big programs have to be rooted on the government level. Like we can only establish an international global exploration program when we are able to federate and generate political push, not only in individual countries, but in a common way. So when we have it started, we need also mechanism allowing those government levels to interfere or to act when changes or modifications will be implemented. Finally, my conclusions. I say my conclusions because I have to confess that there is no consolidated ESA position on the question of how to govern a future exploration program. There are certainly thoughts, but there is nothing consolidated with our member states. So what I derive here from an engineering mind is that what I sense, but certainly not an ESA position. My conclusion is that the ISS governance model described by the IGA on MOU appears to be a viable model for an international exploration program, at least as a starting point. Adaptations are necessary, in particular reflecting that an exploration program will most probably see a more interactive role of the partners. We might also see differences as we have other partners in government in the picture, so we might need references to partner with industry, for instance. We think, and I believe that is something which we should also, not necessarily the conclusion of what I said, but the ISS partnership as such is certainly the nucleus of an international exploration program. What we saw in the other panels and before, not only as a platform for preparing technically an exploration program, but also to prepare, to have experience incorporating with each other. And therefore we believe that it could also be a platform to exercise and to train cooperation with other partners. So the partnership should be the nucleus, but this partnership should be open and invite more partners to join. Finally, I would say, as nice as it is to have speculation on speculation, the problem of finding an appropriate governance model for exploration will probably not be the hard part of establishing an exploration program. What is necessary is to find a common political will and common political understanding on what we want to do. I think that is the first step, and then we can think about governance. Thank you for your time.